Good morning, my neighbors. Welcome to another episode of that BYTTT. Before you take the trade, go ahead and hit the like, subscribe, and the bell button. That way you can know when I am dropping more and more of these hits. I'm going to go ahead and get right to it. Got a lot of work to do. So without further ado, here we go. So the first thing we're going to go ahead and bring up is the indices. Now, it was a very muted yesterday. A lot of the price action was how can I say it? Nothing spectacular. That's the best way I could say it. We are kind of holding this more highs type of thing. Today we're not giving that much coming into the Asian session, and you can kind of see like not saying it's struggling, but it's almost like we're chilling, right? Especially how we kind of like consolidated. We got to put in this doji, so I'm really curious on what the news is going to bring out, and we're going to cover all of that. So let's just keep this party going. Here is a CL. They try to recover some of it here. I'm gonna come over to this 15-minute because I was looking at the opening range on yesterday's action to kind of get a little gauge, and you can kind of see we're just sweeping back and forth. So it's just telling us that we're just more into this consolidation. Again, oil is not in the best of place for obvious reasons, and you can kind of see it on the chart. So let's go ahead and pull it back to the daily and get up to gold. Here's gold, and we're kind of like in this very interesting spot. I want to see if we're going to create that reversal. I think that reversal is very possible. The reason why I think so is because if we look at this wedge is not really breaking down per se. So nice little cross with a stochastic to price sealed deal for us to rise to the upside, and 3,500 will be right in our sights. Here's silver. Silver is also relaxing. You can kind of see that. If this turns back up, it's going to drag gold and bring it right on up. So keep that in mind. Here's the British pound. The British pound is kind of still doing that head and shoulders type of action. Got a nice little change of character right here, so we can get some follow through on that sell side. We'll see what happens there. Here is Bitcoin. Bitcoin did get close to that 20,000, and then it kind of reversed. We got to like 19 and some change. Overall, I would say another stab at that 15 probably is going to be in the next couple of days, maybe, and that probably reset the MACD as the stochastics already reset it. Here's the Russell. The Russell is still struggling with that order block, and I've given y'all warnings on that. That order block is going to be tough. As we try to get to that 2,500, it needs to close above that 23, 34, 32. No, 23, 23.20. Yeah, 23.20. I think about there. We'll see if that can happen. And then here is the dollar, and this is how fun the dollar is. So as we kept on like jabbing the market down, jabbing the market down, jabbing the market down over and over, this is what the dollar was doing. It got that nice little bounce and gave you that from a couple of days ago, right off of this level around that 97-ish, 97.107, somewhere around there. And now that we're back trying to get to these upside, look for that W to pan out, and that's going to really put some pressure on the dollar. It might be a good time and a good opportunity to probably reposition some things in your portfolio. I think my sector rotation is probably going to be coming in the next few days. All right, now that we covered the dollar and everything else, go ahead and pull out a pen and a pad, because we're going to give you the news, and it's coming in hot. So first thing we're going to look at is the economic calendar. If we look here, you can kind of see the Europe is going to be coming in with their GDP information and consumer credit. And for us, we're going to get the JOLTS, job openings, job quits. That's going to be a major effect. But the balance of trade is the one that I'm really, really curious about, because that can really swing the dollar to kind of keep on pushing to this level. If this comes out bearish for the dollar, I think it's going to be a strong reaction, make us come back down. But we'll see. Uh, Jobs open is going to be around 10 a.m. The Jolts is around 8:30. And then a little smidge of auctions is going to be in there. So just keep that in mind. Oh, and consumer confidence is going to come. I'd rather consumer sentiment, Michigan sentiment, more than consumer confidence. But this does play a major factor in the market as well. And of course, tomorrow, some more GDP for Europe. But the one I'm curious about is the ADP employment, oil inventory, consumer spending, and oil inventory right here. And then the big boy right there at 2 o'clock, Fed interest rate with Jay Powell talking right after. So I think there's going to be some sentiment in the market of just relaxing, not doing anything in particular to change up too much, but the volatility is going to probably kick in roughly around 2 o'clock. All right, so now that we kind of went over the economic calendar, let's go ahead and take a nice little peek over on our news articles. I got just a couple, nothing too spectacular. All right, the first article we're going to go ahead and bring up, it is this one right over here. So they're saying JP Morgan trader says the market will continue to run until NVIDIA reports their earnings. Now, NVIDIA's earnings is not around the corner, and I feel like we're more towards the top than we are to the bottom. And I think NVIDIA is going to need a little bit of a pullback, maybe back down to like 150. But the earnings on NVIDIA is all the way on August 27th. So can we get there? Possibly, but I wouldn't hold my breath on the market's going to continue to run to the upside with NVIDIA's earnings coming. Are they saying NVIDIA could get to $200? That would be crazy. Mind you, this thing had split. Very, very strong stock. I don't want to take anything away from it. And if you have some NVIDIA shares, again, good company. But I just think we just need to get this bearish divergences going. The next one we're going to be talking about is this article, and it's our last one. Yeah, not a lot of news is out right now, and I don't know why. Maybe because it's the fact that the Fed is going to go ahead and drop interest rates. So everybody's sitting on their hands a bit, even news reporters and financiers. So if we look at this chart, DoorDash is really, really cool thing to trade. I know somebody that really played this a lot. When it catches this pattern, it kind of rips and goes. But if we look at this chart, we got a nice little solid breaker structure. And if we go over to the monthly, it is trying to get up into that 258 level. If it can get to that 258 level, there'll be a strong opportunity for this thing to kind of rip, maybe even get to like 300 or something above. All right, let's go ahead and switch up because we got some earnings that is coming up, and the earnings is going to be interesting because we got some really, really good companies. Just like I told y'all yesterday, we got UNH. I'm really sitting waiting for this. I want to know what they can do here, right? If UNH can make a nice little solid bounce and get above 291, I would feel like a little bit more confident that it could take out the 300s, maybe get to like 350. But right now, the scandal is right around the corner and it's fresh on the block. If this does anything kind of like similar for 3M when they had their lawsuit over, I think it was bad earbuds or something exactly, right? Look for a nice recovery, but just not now. It'll probably be like in 2027, 2028, because this is a very large company. Another one that has earnings that's coming up is UPS. Now, UPS, it's probably going to struggle a little bit more. I still got my small position, but I'm waiting for this earnings to kind of see if I'm right. I think this earnings they're going to smash, and it's going to be out the, like, it's going to be something ridiculous, and it's going to make us kind of gap up. How far to gap up? Maybe like 115, but I think this stock has been shorted by short sellers, and there's going to be a little bit of a reprieve coming up. Next one, let me grab my list. It is RCL. This one I can't wait to hear this earnings because this one had ripped something extremely vicious to the upside. I saw it around that 200 going into that 300, and I thought 300 was more than enough. But when we got into that 350, I was like, ooh, this thing could really rip. A nice little pullback, maybe come back to 326, but I will not be surprised if this is going to be a $400 stock based on the momentum that they have. And if we look at the monthly, that thing is beautiful. Also in the morning, we got SoFi, a baby. Now SoFi at this position, this earnings is going to tell it all. I'm expecting them being able to hit the 1 billion before 2025 is over. I'm looking for them to get into like 10 cents, 15 cents as a surprise, because overall they have been really pushing, and I think we could get into like $27 to $30 stock. Next one is Spotify. Still a little confused on how they're up here, but again, they do return money to shareholders and they're a $5 billion company, but they miss 1, 2, 3 earnings in a row. Not a fan of that, especially this one being 50% down. So I think this is probably going to need a little bit more of a consolidation. I don't think that's priced in yet. If we drop down a little bit further, probably could get a nice little reset. But I think they're trying to build this base going into the earnings. But if this thing tries to does one of those little funky moves, like it looks like we're curling up just so you can drop it, kind of similar to like what happened with Netflix, this will be a nice little push to, I won't say get to 554, but it will really put some pressure on that 600 because that 700 is failing to hold. Now the last one is RSG. You know, we're in the heart of the earnings session, so you know it's gonna be a little busy. RSG, this one is the, I won't say competitor because I think Waste Management owns everything, but they are in the space. They do generate revenue. They return money to shareholders. They pay out a dividend, 58 cents. Again, not the greatest. But I'm really curious on this one because if this moves, then usually Waste Management moves. So I like to kind of like treat this like silver, chart this, and then kind of look at Waste Management. So we'll see what happens there. Tomorrow, we got Altria. This is a tobacco company. Tobacco has been on the decline a bit, but then we got our nice little pop-up right around here when vapes really started to take over. A lot of these companies has started either, I think this is the one that has views. They make their own, or they bought out some of the older companies, right? But if you want a tobacco company in your portfolio, I don't care for it. This could be a nice little move to the upside. They do pay a dividend. $1 for a $60 stock is not bad. But again, if you don't mind collecting money from something that destroy your lungs. All right, let's go to ADP. ADP is going to go ahead and give us some good insight on the jobs report come tomorrow. Good company for the most part. Very, very large in their market share. You got companies like Paychex and Paycom that's trying to come for it. But ADP is probably going to really set off the outside of tech on the earnings session. I'm really curious on this one. On the nighttime, we got CVNA, which is Carvana. I have major questions around their business practices. I really want to see what happens there, but they return money to shareholders. And here, if this thing does push up, it would be pushing up into that 400 with no hesitation. But I think there's more downside than upside, so we'll see how that holds. Yeah, especially that high over there. Is it divergence? Yep. We got bearish divergences everywhere. It's just crazy. Meta, I can't wait for this one. I think they're going to smash this earnings. I think they're going to go ahead and say something new about their AI model. MSFT, this thing has been on a tear. I think there's more downside than upside. Because of how we move, I might mess around and do a straddle on this for that overnight. But this thing could either swing to the upside or swing to the downside based on its parameters. I think they would want to test this area back at 424, but you're talking about giving back almost $100 a share. That is deep. So we'll see what happens there. All right, and then the last one is QCOM. They're responsible for a lot of things in your cell phone. And with the semiconductor, and maybe I should temper myself because I almost want to say this should be good, right? But if I say something like that, I'm probably going to drive myself crazy because, again, should be and will be and maybe, all of those things are speculative. We're speculative traders, so we just got to put a plan around it. It looks like we're wedging or channeling to the upside, so as long as it respects it, we should be good. Then we could get that golden cross that's right there, that 50, trying to cross over that 200. Earnings is going to be tomorrow night. If they smash earnings, this thing can't even make Nvidia rally. And maybe the news is actually right that the market's going to rally to the upside until Nvidia's earnings. That will be interesting, especially with QCOM. All right, let's go ahead and switch this up because we got a couple of things I want to talk about. I want to talk about Lilly. A couple of tickers in here that I find interesting. And Lilly, because there's so much competitors coming out, let me go ahead and come up to a weekly chart. I think this is the competitors coming in for that market share on their Ozempic drugs and whatever it is. I don't know, their Marjarno or whatever it is, right? But nice wedge, could push up. Generally speaking, it does look like a bull flag that is just continuing, but it didn't do 50% of this pole, which would be about right here. I don't. Ugh. Eli Lilly getting down in a 5-6. Ooh, that would probably crash the whole entire market, especially in the healthcare sector. So I'm very curious on how this earnings comes about. That earnings is going to be August 7th. I already told y'all about Spotify. And let me pull one more. Let's pull one more. AMAT. They provide materials for a lot of the semiconductors company. Their earnings is going to be August 14th. I won't get rid of these drawings because I don't need these anymore. But you could kind of see we're trying to get that push to that upside. Now the question is, are we capable? I would love to kind of fill this fair value gap because I've been eyeballing that for a trade. So I'm going to see how that works. And a quick little recap on a couple of other tickers. Let's go up into here. Tesla actually filled its gap today, or filled majority of its gap. So I think Tesla is going to be all right. I think they're going to try to hold that 23, 25 level, and then it's going to try to push into that 360 area. TMUSA, this thing really did some very funky stuff. Don't really like it because I was looking for this trade to happen right here, and they gapped it. I was waiting for a pullback, and a gap hit it, and now we're coming back down. So the trade's invalidated, but I want to see what this is. Is this just a release of that W so they can go ahead and dump all the way back down? I'm thinking T-Mobile to $200. I really do. So that said, I think we covered everything. I want to say thank you very much to everyone that participate on BYTTT. This stuff is a lot of fun. I love looking at charts. I love trading for the most part. So all my 310 subscribers, I want to say thank you for making this so entertaining. Also, down below is my charts available. $50 discount still in place. Go ahead and book your one-on-ones. It is still going on to the end of the month, which is the next couple of days. So if you are struggling, you just have some questions, or you want to just talk to me directly, best way, one-on-ones down below. All right. So that said, go ahead, enjoy the rest of your morning, and I will see y'all tomorrow. You have a great day.